Hi everyone, so today we're going to be working on dividing fractions and then specifically with story problems. So in your table of contents, today's lesson's 5.5, dividing fractions, and then page 32 for me. This is going to be our last day working on division with fractions. Okay, so let's start with some story problems. So first story problem. Greg is using his phone. Its battery is down to 2/5 and it drains another 1/9 every hour. How many hours will the battery last? So when it comes to division, the hardest part with fractions specifically is not necessarily doing the division, because I know you all know how to keep, flip, multiply. The hardest part is identifying the order in which the fractions go. And so with this story problem, one thing we want to look at is where does the problem begin, and then what are we trying to divide it into? So his phone battery is currently at 2/5%, and then we're trying to figure out how many 1/9 fit into 2/5%, or yeah, 2/5 of, I guess, 100%, which means that my ordering is going to be 2/5, because that's kind of where we're starting at, divided by 1/9, or how many 1/9 are there into 2/5. And so now we can do, now that we have it set up, our normal keep, flip, multiply. So we're going to keep, flip, multiply. And I get 18/5, or 18/5 hours, which with this kind of answer, 18/5, like what does that really even mean? You'd probably want to convert it to a mixed number. But when you're working with Khan Academy, as long as it's in its most reduced form, this would be the correct answer, even though it is an improper fraction. So you can leave your answer like this, or if you wanted to convert it, you would get 3 and I think 3/5. Yeah, 3 3/5 of an hour. Okay, next one. Anna has 4/5 of a tank of fuel in her car. She uses 1/10 of a tank per day. How many days will her fuel last? Okay, so this story problem is pretty similar to this one, where we're given kind of the starting value, or how much of something there is, and we're trying to figure out how many would fit into that. So here she starts with 4/5 of a tank, and we're trying to figure out how long it will last if she uses 1/10 per day, or we're trying to figure out how many 1/10 fit into 4/5. So since we don't have any mixed numbers or any whole numbers, we can keep, flip, and multiply. So here I get 40/5, which is 8. So my answer here would be 8 days. Okay. Next one. A turtle can walk 1/12 of a kilometer in an hour. The turtle is 1/5 of a kilometer away from the pond at this rate, or at this speed, how long will it take the turtle to reach the pond? Okay, so again, we're kind of looking at where they're starting and then how much is kind of being used. So here, even though like up here, we can see it was 4/5, 1/10, and then up here it was 2/5, 1/9. So the order and the problem matched. This one, we don't want to be thinking about it in that terms. We don't want to be thinking, oh, well, 4/5, the fraction came first, therefore it's 4/5 divided by 1/10 in the problem. So here it says the turtle can walk 1/12 of a kilometer in an hour, and it starts 1/5 of a kilometer away from the pond. So this is where it's starting at. And then it walks 1/12 of a kilometer in an hour. And then one thing that I would like to point out before I solve this one is in all these problems, what we're dividing by in our problem is almost a unit rate. So 1/9 of the battery every hour, 1/10 of a tank per day, and then here it was 1/12 of a kilometer in an hour. So this might not be a very exact rule, but if you're really unsure, look at where you see the unit rate, and that is likely going to be your second fraction. Now here we can flip and multiply. Oops, times 12 over 1, and I get 12/5. And since it's already reduced, I don't need to do any reducing. I can leave my answer just like that. Okay, let's do one last one. A relay race covers 1 1/2 kilometers, and each runner on a team will run 1/4 of a kilometer. How many runners are needed for each team? Okay, so here, this one is unlike all the other ones. It's a little bit trickier. So the whole length is 1 1/2, and we're trying to figure out how many runners, if they each run 1/4 a kilometer, are needed for this entire race. So this is kind of like the whole, it's the whole race. And we're trying to figure out how many runners will fit into the 1 1/2. So since we're trying to figure out how many 1/4 fit into the 1 1/2, this is the order of my division. So we have a mixed number, so I need to convert. So I'm going to multiply, and I'm going to add, and I get 3 over 2 divided by 1/4. And now I can just flip and multiply. So I have 3 over 2, keep the first one, flip the second, and multiply. I get 12 over 2 because I multiply across, which gives me 6 runners. Okay, so that is story problems. Hopefully when you're working through these, you get one similar to this. But again, if you're really unsure, look at kind of what the starting value is or what's the whole, and then try and figure out, are you trying to figure out what goes into it? Look for unit rates, and hopefully something along those lines will help you solve each of your story problems.